Actually, I wanted to be an astrophysicist, not an engineer. That was not in my cards. I used to love, astronomy, astrophysics, and all kinds of things. And I used to read books. Um, and my brother, one of my brother, is a physicist, and I really like physics. But then my elder brother, he was a chemical engineer. And I used to browse through his books and everything. Wow, it looks like this is another interesting field. I should look into this. And so I was talking to my father, and my father said, look, if you do astrophysics, you have to work night times, because you have to look at the stars. So you won't have sleep. So if you want to be an astrophysics physicist, you can do that. But then, okay, that's fine. And also, the job opportunities are not there in that. So I said, look, engineering looks like a nice field. So let me take up. And of course, again, from my brother, I used to see him. So after I graduated from college, I took up a job, in India with a company called Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, BHEL. It's like General Electrics, like GE. It's a big conglomerate. They make everything: turbines, steam turbine, generators, and oil and gas industry. They started getting into oil and gas, and then they started a new group for designing compressors. I said, wow, this is fascinating. And so I joined the company, and the company had a very good training program. It's really one of the fantastic, great training programs. So 1 year you go through all the different departments at the facility, and you meet people, you talk to them. And then I said, okay, I want to join the compression group because I saw, wow, they not only do aerodynamics, thermodynamics, heat transfer, aerodynamics, everything. I said, wow, this is the right thing for me to do. And the other good thing, what happened was when I started working, the way it started, like you were given a project, and you have to start right from the beginning, go through the whole design process, make the design, work with the draftsman, make the drawing, go to the manufacturing guys, get it made, and then test it. And then it goes to the field, and you have to go to the field and test the machines in the field. So it's like, everything from starting to the end point. And that really fascinated me. That whole experience was great. And then my father, he's a professor, so he was in US in 1966, 67. Then he came back. Then my brother came to US. And later on, I started, after I got a couple of years of experience, then I decided to, come to US. And then, believe it or not, I mean, I was able to get a job at Carrier, which is similar to what I used to do in India. Same compression group, compressors and everything. So it was a continuation of what I was doing. Okay, and and the interesting thing is, when I think in '86 when I came, the job market was not that great. It was really low. And then first I decided to go to school again and start my graduate studies. And so my parents used to live in Middletown, Harrisburg, near Harrisburg. So they went to India for a couple of months of vacation. Then I went to Chicago my brother used to work in Chicago. So I said, bigger city, a lot of opportunities. I went there, and my mail used to get forwarded from Harrisburg, Middletown to Chicago. So they used to forward your mail for 1 month. Okay. After that, no more forwarding. Guess what? The last mail I got was from a headhunter. He was looking for me. He said, "Where are you? There is a job opportunity that fits right your qualifications. Please call me." And I called him, and lo and behold, it's an opportunity at Carrier. So that's how I ended up at Carrier. Had I not got that last mail, I would not have come to Carrier. Maybe I would have gone to someplace else. But that was an interesting coincidence, the way it happened. And since then, I started liking not only the job, but also the community. Everything was nice and friendly. People were very good. It's a small community, not a big city, right? And of course, having grown in India, I grew up in India in a large city. I think this really worked out well, a small setup. So that was my, journey from, getting into engineering and then this field of compression and then continuing on. Now almost 9 years in India and 40 years almost here. So next year it will be 50 years in the same field.
Well,
So
we were talking about, some of the things in the compression technologies that you were involved in that not only started with, things, of course, in HVAC and some of the CFCs that you were involved with that have kind of obviously evolved. You want to talk about that and maybe, that leads into one of your most accomplished, proudest accomplishments within that
absolutely.
technology group.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it was interesting when I joined Carrier. We were using refrigerants, right, for HVAC for cooling, for the water cooled chillers, and these were chlorofluorocarbons, chlorinated compounds. And in 86, 87, there was a big push to get out of chlorinated compounds because of the ozone layer problem, Montreal Protocol. So then we were asked to design a new set of compressors using non-chlorinated gases like HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons. So that was very interesting, because I said, wow, this is pretty interesting. In this job, I'm able to make some impact on the environment, right? I mean, they said the ozone layer is not, it's a very good protection. And then when there is a hole in the ozone layer, you can get radiation and all that. So I said, this is very interesting. I mean, like, okay, so now we started, designing compressors for hydrofluorocarbons. And that went on for 10 years, up until maybe 90s, late 90s, or even early 2000. And then came the global warming potential, GWP. They said, hey, wait a minute. We not only have a problem with ozone, yes, you guys have taken care of that by using non-chlorinated compounds, but now we have to now switch to low GWP, low global warming potential compounds because we were using 134A, where the GWP is like 14 or 1500. So then the new compounds started coming. These are HFOs or hydrofluoroolefins. So now I was really, again, you get another chance to go, to make the world a better place to live, like sustainability, low GWP. So really, I was very fortunate, to not only work in on things that I liked, but also at the same time, impacting the environment. So one of the projects that I worked on, this was around 95. So when we switched to the hydrofluorocarbon, HFCs, the efficiency was a big driver at that time. And so we were trying to see how to improve the efficiency. So one of the things, if I know some people are familiar with vapor compression cycle, it is what is called between the high pressure and low pressure, we use a throttle valve. So that means you lose some energy. So there was an opportunity to look into that and gain some energy by using a turbine between a high pressure condenser and a low pressure evaporator. So we worked on that project. It's a two-phase expander and everything we did. And it was a big thing because nobody in the industry had that. We were the first ones. But that was not the thing. What I found out was later on in our archives, I found a letter that was written in 1943. So we worked on this project in 1993. So I found a letter in 1943 when Willis Carrier was still there, and he was the CEO of the company. One of his chief engineers, he said, the way to improve the efficiency, he was outlining some of the various things that we can do. And one of them was this turbine, a two-phase turbine. But then in the letter, it says, it's very risky. because of the, liquid. It can erode the turbine. There are so many issues with that. And they said, we should not pursue that. So I was really, when I looked at the letter, it's 1943, and here we are, 1993, 50 years, we made that. And then, looking at Willis Carrier's name on the letter, I said, boy, I tell you, this was a dream, his dream to do that. And now, 50 years forward, I was able to fulfill his dream, like making the first a two-phase turbine and then improve the efficiency. It was a big thing. I remember we were at the ASHRAE Expo and we launched this product, and it was well taken, well received in the industry. So I, there were several projects I worked on, but this is the one that really, I said, being connected to the founder of the company and looking at his letter, I said, really, this is one of the best things that ever happened. So yeah, I mean, that was one of the big things. Yes.
I think of, and thank you for sharing. You talk about 50 years since, Mr. Carrier, and was talking about that 50 years later, being able to finally solve for it, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And I think I think a little bit about Moore's law, right? And how technology evolves and its generational, advances evolve so quickly, right? Can you talk a little bit about, especially in your applications, and the work that you've done at Carrier, the speed of that evolution and generative iterations of technology, how that impacts your workforce culture, right? And maybe some of the newer generation career development opportunities that you have seen,
Yeah.
at the organization.
Yeah. No, I think, unfortunately, in mechanical engineering, right, things don't happen, like Moore's law. And otherwise, by this time, we would have been like 150% or something, in efficiency. I mean, it takes, it takes really, you have to understand the physics, right? How things work, and, how can you improve? It's a slow process. But I tell you, over the years, right, when we started, we used to use, back home, I was using slide rule. I don't think a lot of people remember, what a slide rule is. And then we came to calculators, and then, of course, then computers and all that. But even in 80s and on, we were just started using the computers, right? So most of the design, processes were kind of manual, okay? And so it used to take a lot of time, okay? And not only that, I mean, like I said, the physics of the flow physics is a little bit, it's not well understood. Even today, for example, I'll tell you, the famous Navier-Stokes equation that we use, there is no closed form solution for those set of equations. There is no closed form solution, and people are still looking for it. What we do is, by using some finite difference techniques, we reduce the equations to some approximations, and we try to solve it. Because there is if you're familiar with this Clay Mathematical Institute in Seattle, there is a millennium problems. There are 6 or 7 millennium problems. And one of the millennium problems is the closed form solution for a Navier-Stokes equation, okay? And it is still out there. If somebody solves it, they get $1 million, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, it's very involved, and so that's one of the reasons why it takes time, because you have to develop the tools, to see how to look at the flow physics and what are the things that you need to change, to get the best efficiency, and so there have to be improvements made not only in computation, but also the speed, right? Because you need the computational power. So we started at the beginning with manual, then slowly went to 2D methods, quasi 3D methods, and we used to do a lot of experimentation, okay? A lot of testing. So testing always takes time because you have to build these machines, okay, to get the parts. And that was one of the reasons why, the changes, they were taking over a long period of time. But in the last 5, 10 years, the computation power has increased so much. Okay. Now we're at a point, even though we have not solved the Navier-Stokes equations, the closed form, but by using finite difference and also by using very fine grids, all kinds of things, we are able to get closer and closer. And the improvements we are able to make now, which used to take, let's say, 3 to 5 years, now we are able to make them in less than a year now. Okay? A year to 12 to 18 months, sometimes 6 months. So we are able to make some rapid progress. Okay? Thanks to the tools and everything and the computation power. Okay? So the new engineers, but there is one downside of that, though. What happens is when we get all these new engineers, they are taught in school how to use all these new CFD or FEA techniques, and then they try to solve it, but they're forgetting the physics. Okay, the underlying physics is lost now. So that's one of the issues we try to stress when we get new engineers. We give some good training and a continuous mentoring, and then we try to insist, okay, there's no you can use these tools, but try to understand the basics, the fundamentals, the physics. That's very important, right? Otherwise, what happens in computers, right? Like you put garbage in and garbage out, right? Sometimes you get some weird results and you start wondering, why am I getting this? Oh, that's because your input is bad, right? So you need to know what you're trying to do. So we insist, when we get new engineers, we always try to make sure they understand the physics, and we try to be constantly mentoring them, and that's how they become good, and then they pass on the same knowledge to the next generation, right? So that's the kind of changes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting, Vishnu, that you just mentioned in terms of our early career, people who are in maybe 0 5 to 10 years kind of work as some, that's a potential challenge, right? We always, even back in school, you always say, always validate your answer, right? And then double check back, to
Yeah,
what
that's
you have
true.
inputted, right?
Yeah.
So in today's kind of thing, what with the constant challenges that engineers have in across our industries, what skills and mindsets do you see are really needed or critical with our young engineers?
Yeah. So there are certain things that we look for, in new engineers.
Yeah.
First thing is they have to be a good team player. Okay, because nowadays, we work as a team. Okay, and when you're working as a team, you need good communication skills. Okay, that's important. Teamwork, communication skills, and ready to listen. So we want them to be good listeners. Okay, and so that there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you cannot, simply keep talking one way. You got to listen, and that's very important. And the other thing is also multitasking is very important.
Mm.
That's because what happens is, let's say once they start working on a project, okay, things change. Suddenly you get another project, which is more important. So you may have to stop this or keep it uh, in a low this one priority and start working on the other one. Or sometimes you're asked to work on both of them, 50% here, 20% here. So you should do some multitasking. You should be able to do how to manage the time. Okay, that's very important. Because sometimes what happens is people, young engineers, they think, oh, wait a minute, why are we changing now? I'm doing this and you're now asking me to stop this and start that. Or sometimes you're asking me to do both of them. Because we have to look at the market, right? The market needs are changing. Okay. Sometimes they want something new and they want quick. And we have to respond, right? That's important. So we try to train our engineers to work as a team, also multitasking, that's important. Okay. So, because otherwise, if you just keep working on one, I mean, the other things, if you cannot respond to the market, you lose out, right? We don't want to lose out in the market. So those are the things that are very important. And the other thing is also they must be willing to undertake training courses constantly.
Mm.
Okay. That's very important because even today, I take some training courses myself. I mean, hey, I want to learn. There's learning can be complete lifetime, right? It never stops. I mean, it keeps going all the time, but at a different pace. So we want them to do that. So, for example, at Carrier, we have established a Carrier University. So we have a lot of training courses for young engineers. They can go and take these courses. Some of them are taught by fellows and subject matter experts and everybody, so they can just go in and take those courses. And then again, as mentors, we are always there. I keep telling the young engineers, you can reach out to me anytime. Okay, don't get intimidated. That's very important, right? Sometimes what happens is people think, oh, he's a fellow, he's a senior fellow, maybe I have to take his appointment. Or no, 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 you don't need anything. You can come to my office, the doors are open, please come. So that's another thing. Again, from our side, we do the training and mentoring, but then we want the young engineers at the same time, they should be willing to learn. And teamwork, that's very important, right?
And I appreciate that Carrier has a university. I think a lot of other companies have, internal learning and development, processes, resources like that. And, when I had a recent conversation with our SASE collegiate, leaders, and one of the things that our SASE collegiate community is very interested and started recognizing also is this desire and wisdom of knowledge sharing from mentors and advisors, right? And so one of the things, for example, we're doing at STEM Connect, that is creating opportunities for our professional community to network and maybe connect in with our collegiate community, maybe by region, maybe by college, right? And build those kinds of relationships with more tenured, more seasoned, professionals in industry. So I think, like you said, that conduit of constantly learning, right, is so valuable. And I am so pleased that our collegiate population is reaching out and desiring these kinds of connections, right, with individuals like yourself, for example.
And
Yeah.
because we are a global company, right? We used to focus concentrated in Syracuse, when I joined in '86. But now we are global. I mean, we have engineering centers in India, China, and also in Europe. So now the training process now, it extends globally now. So it has to be, available for them too. So they can, the university and then all these webinars and all we have, that's very powerful. But other than that, you still need that connection, right? Face to face. That's very important. So we are fortunate again at Carrier, right? I mean, the company, they always encourage people to go and travel and meet, these new engineers, in different places, because sometimes, they want to really have the senior people come and talk to them, and they want to share their experience, and they want to know, just like what we're talking, So I think that's another thing, it started as a local company, then we were, global footprint we have. I mean, when I joined, everything was made here in Syracuse. We had manufacturing, R&D, engineering, everything. And now, the footprint has a little bit decreased in Syracuse, but now we are global footprint. So now we have engineers all over the world. And that brings another big thing. We also look at, when we have new engineers, we ask them about how do you interact with different cultures? Because that's very important, right? We have to talk to people in India. You have to talk to people in China. You have to talk to people in, Thailand, Malaysia, or in Europe. So you have different cultures. So you need to know how to work with across, okay? Not just, people who speak English, but there are other people. I mean, their English could be slightly different, but you should have the patience, right? That's very important. So that's the other thing that our company always stresses. Hey, we're a global company. You have, you need to know, respect other cultures, and work with them. So that's the other big thing nowadays. It's a global now. The whole world has become smaller and smaller, right? Thanks to Boeing and Airbus, right? Right. I mean, so
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, I think we might actually have some fellow colleagues in the aerospace industries here who are on this call. I think you might recognize a few. I think I saw, well, certainly Honeywell Aerospace and RTX,
Pratt, I
right?
know. Pratt, I know people from Pratt and Collins, some of
Yeah,
them.
Pratt, right? Pratt and Collins, right.
Yeah.
So kind of a little bit you alluded to, Vishnu, in your younger self, right? New engineer, right? We talked about how globally interconnected our communities are. And some of the cross-functional things that you had the opportunity to get involved with. I know a lot of the interns or early career, folks who are doing rotational assignments, in different locations. But a couple of what would you recommend or advise our younger professionals who are coming into industry or looking to advance in their career that you might have told yourself now that you have a few years under your belt?
Yeah. I mean, I tell you, when I look back, again, when I was in engineering college in India, in those days, we didn't have this lot of opportunities for internships or
Mhm.
co-op. So we didn't have much exposure to industry. Okay, so it was mainly you're in a academic setup, and then now you go to industry, right? And then so typically what happens sometimes people just go from their undergrad to graduate, and some people even go to their PhD and then go back and start working. Okay, that's what they do. What I did not do that. I mean, I said, okay, I wanted to go and get some experience in industry and then pursue masters because I wanted to first see hands-on what is going on in the industry, and then that gives you some idea when you do your graduate studies what do you need to do, what area you want to focus on. Okay, so that's what I did. And but the good thing nowadays, at least in US, also in other countries, even in India, there are a lot of internships are opening up. So people, when you're in college, you already have some exposure to the industrial, the real world, the application, and so they can, because they have a better idea. Okay, what I want to do because having gone through internships and everything, and sometimes what happens, when people come, I've seen, fresh engineers, they come and join, and then they don't have the bandwidth. They don't want to go back to school and learn, right? I try to tell them, okay, you came for a job because I know you want to earn and, pay for your, for your, tuition and all that stuff. But keep in mind, I said, going back again, as a part time and learning and getting an advanced degree always helps, because it broadens your, ideas and everything. So that's one thing, I always insist, and I was successful sometimes, some of our engineers, yes, they went back to school and they got their master's degree as a part-time student. And then after that, they really expanded their, their knowledge and thought process and all that stuff. And again, career always, they encourage people to get degrees and they pay for tuition. So that's another good thing. It was actually carried forward from UTC days. I remember when I went back to school, yes, they paid my tuition, but then later on, in order to get more people to go back to school, they started giving them incentive. Like, okay, once you get your degree, we give you $10,000, bonus. So then it really accelerated, people started going back to school. So what I'm saying is, again, this continuous learning is very important. And if people, you know, when they come and join a company, with an undergrad degree, they might sometimes feel a little bit intimidated when they look at people's around them having masters or advanced, doctoral degrees. But they don't need to. They can go back to school, and you can do that. Okay, if you need it, if you think it's needed, you know, Because nowadays things are changing so fast, right? Now, just think about the AI. AI is getting into everything. Everything is AI, so, it's always nice to, advance your, knowledge and everything. Sometimes you may have to go back to school, so be it, right?
For
So,
sure.
so
Yeah.
that's what I would suggest, and that's what I tell my new engineers, like always don't think this is it. There is more to it, right? I mean, you will be
Right.
here not 5 years, 10 years, could be 50 years like me. I don't know.
Well,
So,
in your opinion, then, Vishnu, is, so AI is, obviously a technology that's been around for a few years, it's continued to emerge. Some people are concerned, right, especially in our creative industries. But, in the STEM community, in your opinion, Vishnu, is AI going to replace us or replace, or because we're still human centered?
I don't think it will replace us, but it's like this, right? When the computers first came, people thought, okay, there won't be, you don't need engineers, everything can be done. Computers
Right.
can do what 10 people are doing or something like that. So, I mean, it started. But then it also, there are more opportunities came up, right? So
Mm,
I see yes, the AI will definitely help. It will improve the productivity,
mm,
but at the same time, it will open up new areas for people to explore and go deep into that, right? So one thing AI cannot do is maybe it cannot plan what type of testing you need to do or how to test something. It might give you some guidance, right? So you still need things like that, I mean, you still have to, yes, AI will tell you maybe, of course, you have to feed and then it will tell you, okay, these are the things maybe you need to explore. And that exploration might require more people, right? It's possible. So that's
right.
how I look at it. I mean, it will help you. I mean, make use of it and see
Hmm.
how best you can use it,
Hmm.
right? And then, accordingly, we can plan. So I don't think it'll replace, you know, people. I think it will help. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I tell people, like go back and look at, the days from slide rule to calculator to computer. It's like that. It's
Yeah, I still remember my dad had a slide rule. He was an architect,
yeah,
and I never did figure out how to use it, but absolutely. And some of you may remember the TI-30
yeah,
calculator, and then the HP 35, right? And here we
yeah.
are, where we are. So I appreciate your encouraging comments that we're not going to get replaced anytime soon, but it is a wonderful tool, and we'll continue to watch it
Yeah,
evolve.
yeah. Mhm.
In just wanted to move on. I'm very curious, what you do to stay grounded in your community and your family.
Yeah. So one thing, Syracuse is a small place, but still there's a vibrant community of all cultures. Like there are a lot of Indian community, Chinese community. We have Germans, Italians, everything. I mean, very nice, friendly people. Okay, and we are one of the best schools here in Syracuse. Okay, so growing, I mean, so like I said, I grew up in India, southern part of India. I never saw snow. It was very hot, right, and humid. So when I came here in '86 and then came to Syracuse, wow, it started. I saw the snow. I think not for the first time because I was in Italy before, but it was cold. But it never bothered me. Then after I got married, my wife is also from India, from same southern part, and she came. I thought she might say, "Well, this is not the place we want to live. Let's move to south, some Arizona or someplace." But no, she also liked it. Oh wow! So we really liked it. And the other good thing is, Syracuse is within 4 hours you can go to all different places. Okay, and again coming back to the community, right? So we raised a family. We have two kids, and we had teachers here who were teaching Indian classical dance. One of the southern India, they have a dance form. It's called Bharatanatyam, and also the music, Indian vocal music, it's called Carnatic music. So we had teachers in Syracuse teaching that. And both my kids, my again, my wife, she's the main central figure in our family. She's the one who makes the decisions. I'm just sitting here, talking to you guys. So she's the one who's doing. So anyhow, she really insisted that the kids learn the culture, okay, where we came from. So both of my kids were, big in that, and we used to participate, in all cultural activities. And again, Syracuse also has a yearly, if where they bring all the different cultures, and we used to have dance programs and everything. So my kids were big in that,
Mhm.
and so that was one activity. That's how I used to we are connected to the community. The other big thing was in the schools here. There were a lot of sports activities, and also we have what is called science olympiad. Like we have math
Mm.
olympiad,
Mm.
like science olympiad. Both my kids were big in the science olympiad, and they went around the country participating at statewide and national championships. So we used to go with them. And then you should see this. You have a family, let's say the team is of maybe 15 students, and all the 15 families, we were closely bonded, like we used to help the kids, practicing. And then we used to take them to the national championships, all over the country. It was in Indiana, Chicago, Augusta. So we used to go around. And so, I mean, again, that's how, we were connected, to the community, friends. So here is again, even though, Syracuse people coming from outside might feel, hey, there's not much going on except snow, but the school system is very good. And that's one of the big things, when we recruit people, we tell people, look, it's a great place to raise family, Syracuse, because the other thing is when you look at the driving portion, from your home to work, there's nothing, no traffic, not much. You can within 15 minutes, 10 miles, 15 minutes is no problem. Okay. So because we have to sell to the new, how do when you recruit, how do you bring people to
Uh-huh,
Syracuse?
uh-huh, uh-huh.
So we do tell them, the community, and also we have a lot of lakes around, and we go for hiking, and if you're good, I can do
You know,
ski.
and yeah,
So many
yeah,
things, right?
yeah,
So,
and it's interesting. Lifestyle is, obviously an important piece,
yeah,
where you kind of balance not only, your own personal and family life, but of course professional. And by the
yeah.
way, Vishnu, right, that our national convention, STEM Connect, is going to be on the East Coast. I want to say in
Ah,
28, 29, I think it is. So, where we travel around, but our
okay.
students are all over the US, right? And it's always interesting. I've always taken this perspective that, especially when I got out of grad school, well, gee whiz, I will go anywhere, practically, for my first career opportunity, because, I mean, there are other doors will open. But having
Yeah.
said that, your quality of life, I know we have some folks in the Southwest. I'm in Denver, right? I know we
Mhm.
have people on the East Coast and Northeast as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think is important for our younger folks just to be aware of, that, your first career opportunities may not be in the most ideal situation, locations, but just like you did, that recruiter who called, who reached out to you, and here we are, right? And um, I wanted to. So first off, thank you for your comments, and really just sharing some of your experiences that you've had, back in India and here at Carrier. A nearly 40 odd year career at one company is almost unheard of these days, right? And
Yes.
you hear people hopping around, especially, I originally was from the West Coast, so in the Bay Area, it would be not uncommon to be poking around,
Mhm.
and recruited, by other companies after a few years. I wanted to take the opportunity, and pause here
Yeah.
to invite people in our, fireside chat here if they have any questions or comments that they would like to ask you, Vishnu, we'll pause and I'll take a look here in chat, or please come off mute and go ahead and shout out to Vishnu.
Can I go first? This is
Yes.
Pooja.
Oh, hi, Pooja.
Hey, Clarence. Good afternoon. Hi,
Hello.
Vishnu.
Hi, Pooja. How are you?
I've really enjoyed the conversation so far. Very vibrant, very engaging. Thank you again, Vishnu, for sharing your journey and Clarence for organizing this.
Mhm.
I have one question, and in general, this may be applicable to a lot of young engineers who come into the organization as well. Vishnu, your career journey has many examples of innovating, right?
Yep.
Different things. And innovation always comes with risk. Your success is never guaranteed. You could fail, you could pass. So looking back at your journey, what role has the organization played in creating that safe environment
Mm.
to fail and retry?
Yeah, I tell you, that's a good question. When I look back, when I first joined Carrier in '86, it used to be more heavily engineering oriented or technology oriented. Okay, so everybody, my directors or VPs, everybody came up through the ranks. They worked at the same company, they knew the business, they knew everything. And one thing, they gave us a free hand, right? When we were developing the new compressor for HFCs, so they said, guys, go ahead and do whatever you think is right. And so that's when, the two-phase expander thing that we did. But also we had some failures. When we were doing that, it was not always successful. We had some problems. And but the at that time the leadership was very cooperative. They said, don't worry. We said, look, they have this issue, and it might take another month or two to fix it and to move on. And we used to show them, okay, this is what we are going to do. They said, no problem, please go ahead and do it. So again, the type of culture at that time is slightly different, okay? And also, but moving forward, yes, things have changed, right? We are more process oriented. We do more processes, right? We have more checks and balances. We had to do all kinds of things. The reason for that being, right, we are not at one location. We're a global company, right? We have to see that not only, we have to make sure that other places, when they do the development, they're also following certain ground rules and processes. So that's the reason why now you see a little bit more process and less technology or engineering oriented. But but I tell you, at the end of the day, Carrier, when I look at other companies, when I look at our competition versus Carrier, the number of new products that Carrier has launched is really much larger than the other companies. And they invest, like they invest a lot in new technology at Carrier. And and yes, I mean, failures happen and they recognize that. But as long as you don't keep repeating the same failure, they
Yes.
don't want you to do that.
Yeah.
But they're pretty good. I would say, when I talk to, I meet people from different industries and all that. So I know how they are going about. And I think we are doing, you know, they're not bad. I mean, compared to other. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Pooja, for your question. I am looking at chat here. Ali had a question about Vishnu, what would you do differently? Reflecting on your early days or early years at Carrier. What might you do differently in hindsight?
This question comes up all the time.
Yeah.
And when I look back, and maybe I'm fortunate, I don't know, because the way I always approach was sometimes I used to come out with ideas, and I used to tell, hey, how about doing these things? It's not like I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what to do, but I used to be proactive. Okay. And fortunately, whatever I suggested or proposed, they had no issue. They said, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do it. So that was the key. And maybe had they said no, then I would have moved on to another company, maybe. So I always found one thing that, you have to always be proactive and come up with ideas and propose. Don't, you should not think like, oh, I proposed this idea last time and they said, no, it doesn't work. So don't worry. So don't give up. You should never give up. You should keep trying. There's nothing wrong. I tell you, sometimes, there are some ideas which we talked about maybe 20 years ago. Now we are putting them into practice now. So sometimes it takes time, right? So you should not give up. I mean, you should say, okay, keep trying, just try again. And sometimes when things change, right, the idea that you propose may not be possible at that time, feasible at that time. But when other things change, that idea again can be, it becomes feasible. So that's one thing, and maybe if they would have said no, we don't, all my ideas had they shot down, then I would have moved on to some other company. But that's the biggest thing I learned, like be proactive, come up with things and propose them, and don't wait for others to tell you what to do. I mean, you also be part of it. You be part of the whole system. That's what, you should feel that company is your company. You belong to the company, and then you're making a difference to the company. And that's when, you really feel the difference. I mean,
Yeah,
you should
then
not
you've made
think
an
like,
impact. Yeah.
I'm just going there for a work and paycheck. It should be more than that.
Right. Absolutely, Vishnu. Thank you. I wanted to start wrapping up. Again, Vishnu, thank you so much for your wisdom, for sharing it with our community here at SASE Pro. I wanted to thank Carrier again for making you available.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, it was very good.
Absolutely. And please look forward, everyone. Please look forward to other fireside chats that I am developing for Q3, Q4. We continue through Jim Lee to have our first and third Thursday professional employee network meetings where he has providing some training and coaching types of things in alignment with some of the things that we've been talking about in terms of advocacy and confidence and leadership development. So I again just wanted to leave you with that. A lot of this information is on our website at saseconnect.org under the professional navigation menu. Please feel free to reach out to me with any particular questions, things that we're doing within SASE Pro as we ladder into October STEM Connect convention. And again, I leave you again. Thank you so much, Carrier. Thank you so much, Vishnu. And thank you everyone else for carving out a little bit of time to listen and glean a little bit of wisdom from Vishnu. And I wish you a wonderful weekend. And we'll leave it at that. We'll close here.
I would like to thank all the participants for staying almost 1 hour, listening to my my story. I hope it helped you. If you need, you can reach out to me anytime. Okay, I'm available. So yeah, I mean, thanks again. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
Vishnu. Yeah, it was really nice. Yes, thanks. A
Thank
lot of
you.
nice
Oh,
advice.
here we got some folks here. All right.
Vishwajit is here, my good friend. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye-bye.